Hello, Gaia. How are you?
Hello, how are
It's
you?
very, yeah, I'm very good. It's very nice to have you to join us today. And we all look forward to hearing a story about your project in Cordoba. But before this interview, I would suggest that we can quickly introduce ourselves. So I will go first. My name is Hongxi Zhao, Programs Manager of War Monuments Fund, or WF, which is an international organization devoted to the safeguarding treasure places in the world since 1965. And with headquarters in New York and affiliate office worldwide, up to date, we have been working with our local partners, communities to conduct more than 700 projects in 112 countries. So, Gaia, now it's your turn. Quickly introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi, thank you for this invitation. It's a pleasure for me. My name is Gaia Redaelli. I'm architect, PhD from the Polytechnic of Milan, but I live in between Milan and Cordoba in the south of Spain, where I teach also in the University of Sevilla, and I'm here because we we started with a governance called the strategy Pax Patios de la Sequía that try to recover the historical center with innovation processes.
Great, thank you. So I believe our audience are eager to learn from you and your experience. So first, could you briefly introduce the background of this project?
Yeah, we are two architects and anthropologists, and we started thinking about our city, and especially it's, as you probably know, it's a city of 300,000 inhabitants, the south of Spain. There's four declaration UNESCO. So we thought that there will be a problem in the next future called over tourism, about related to heritage and urban heritage in this kind of historical and very beautiful medium-sized city. And we thought that we had to implement strategies that have to be new governance to share with people and with the heritage community a new desire for the future of our city. Because, as you know, many processes in this kind of context, such as like Venice, Barcelona, or whatever, that have a very beautiful urban historical center, normally suffer this kind of phenomena that surely some unbalance the relation between city and community. So that's what Agenda 2030 called, that it's we want to have a more sustainable city within a resilient community. That's why we started with this project. We called it the Strategy of Urban Regeneration with Social Innovation Processes. And basically, in 4 years, we just start as an association. We are a no-profit institution, but we really play as facilitators of connection between public administration, social enterprises, university, and citizenship to share this future that we hope will not be the ones that Venice, for example, has.
Great. Yes, thank you. I think that we know more about this project, but can you also specify a little bit about the project rationale, the objectives, and your approaches?
Yeah, we have different. We play in different field. One is creation. We somehow help the local community to be able to reuse the courtyards that are very typical in Cordoba and in all the Mediterranean city. The courtyards are multifamiliar places, architecture of the historical city that come from the Domus Romana, and then was really very used during the Islamic period, that it's settled surely in Cordoba as it was the capital of Al-Andalus in the first century. So we are using somehow techniques that try to discover which are the buildings that are empty in the historical city and how to make local labs to improve and establish new groups of people that want to live in one of these buildings as cooperative. The second element is investigation. We work with on all these important theme and issue with universities, and we are studying the case of Córdoba as a laboratory of both ecological and sociological point of view. The third is dissemination. We work with on both local and global scale with our challenge, and we want to disseminate it both in all the two scales. And the first issue and challenge is training. We are working with young people, discovering from all over Europe this argument, and we receive them in Pax Patria Cerquia, and we try to train them, and at the same time to establish relation with other cities, such as the ones I was talking before, like Venice or many other that are suffering the same phenomena.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is very nice, Gaia. So could you also share the particular qualities and innovations of this project? And then we will know more about how this project can win the Europa Nostra Prize.
Yes, I think that there is no many other no-profit institutions that are trying to do. We work on in the innovation for us is in two levels. The first one is on the urban scale. We work with the neighborhood association, with the citizenship, and we try to create also within other stakeholders and partners like a public institution. We want to create this consensus about the necessity to care about our urban historical center, because, as I said before, the tourism industry is very hard to resist to. But on the second level, we work in the architectonical scale. So we use, when we create or we are able to create or facilitate a group of people on the local scale that want to share a courtyard, we use the cooperative, the housing cooperative, as a tool to reuse and actualize, update somehow in our contemporary time that multifamiliar courtyards. So if we don't use this tool, that it's a legal and economical tool, it is very impossible for local people to make and afford this kind of renovation that are quite big for each one singular family that they live in. So in this case, for us, the most important innovation is to serve the community and to help the empowerment of the heritage community, as the Council of Europe and UNESCO call. That group of people that recognize an heritage value but want to reuse, let me say, for the future of the next generation, so to update that heritage and memory in the contemporaneity, not just to fix in the past, but to be contemporary.
I see. Great. So I know you had mentioned it a little bit, but throughout this project, have you ever encountered any significant difficulties, and what were your solutions to make this project possible and successful?
Yes, maybe in Spain we lived something that we called the real bubble. So during 20 years, people has been used to think about housing as something that should be new flats outside of the city with parking. So it is, let me say, a kind of way of living in the like each one on their own, so separating people within the buildings. So that's quite a cultural problem to reintroduce people in living in the historical city with that it's the real 15-minute city, let me say, because it has a very comfortable and friendly dimension. But we have in this moment many empty buildings because of this process called real estate bubble. That's quite important to change in people's mind and just to reuse their memory as in the past we really was able to live there. On the second hand, it's also there are some problems about the community ownership as the cooperative is, because many of Spanish people and in general in South of Europe, people are used to be owner of their own flat. There's no culture of tenants, for example, of rent. And while in the north of Europe, it's much more used to have both a rental dimension with housing or a cooperative process. Or for sure in Uruguay, that it's very, very common, the use of cooperative as a normal tool of community property, not the ownership, not rental. These two aspects can be, sometimes we have to work on them, but we just succeed with the first pilot. So it was very important for us to make sure that we could be able to do one building. So as we did one, we think that in the next future would be easier to do it. Surely the neighborhood association are working with us, and also the public administration that at the beginning it was not very comfortable with our presence. Now they're starting to think that it's possible to reuse our historical center within the local community.
I see. Great. So do you think if this is possible, that the multidimensional ecosystem of parks could be duplicated in other places where also have the rich urban heritage while facing the similar challenges?
Yeah, I think yes. Not everywhere, because we think that many of these ecosystems that we could create it, as I said before, it's like linking public administration, university, local enterprises, and citizenship, including neighborhood association for sure. Our goal is to make a link, and in this sense, it's very important that Córdoba, let me say, is like a polis in the Greek sense. So if the historical center is 30,000 inhabitants, so the way that people have or can understand what we are doing, have some techniques for the dissemination. But we think that having done this first step of our implementation in the city of Córdoba, that we think it's really an urban heritage laboratory, we think that even if we think that the best way to reproduce and scaling up our strategy is in another Mediterranean city with similar problems and similar dimension and similar type of people living there. We think that it's not only referred to Mediterranean cities, but with similar processes, and for sure not so small and not so big. We think that our best city to reproduce is something similar to this one. Mm-hmm. But for sure, we are trying, and we are doing it with some partner, a similar strategy in an Italian city.
So we know that the site has been listed on the World Monument Watch in 2020. This is WMF's flagship program in the world. So do you think if there's any impact on the site?
Yeah, for us it was a very big surprise that World Monument Fund dedicated its attention, because really Pax Patio de la Cerquilla proposed to World Monument Fund to recognize not only the courtyards in the Cerquilla as tangible heritage, but also that one that UNESCO declared that it's the intangible value of this way of living inside the courtyards. So we propose somehow that we have all together World Monument Fund and PAX, two ONGN working on heritage on the global and local scale to facilitate these processes, not only, as I said before, in what is stones, but also caring about people. I think it was not so used in the case of World Monument Fund, that I think that it was much more used to renovate public building, while we propose to preserve a tangible and intangible private urban scale that is the center of Córdoba. That was for us absolutely important. And from the beginning, we started working with World Monument Fund as in many other activities. And all of them are trying to connect and to facilitate this heritage community in the local and global scale.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. WF, we also appreciate the opportunity to work with you and our local community partners. So my last question today, we know that this project received the best practice in Euro cities and also the City of Cultural Heritage in Action. So in the future, how would you like to share your experience with other cities? And yes, what's your next steps?
For us, it was very beautiful to be recognized in the case of EuroCity, Creative Heritage in Action in 2023. For sure, to have to be awarded by the European Heritage Award, Europa Nostra Awards last year, and last but not least, to be member of the Fara Convention Network of the Council of Europe, that cares and make a network about good practices all over the European scale about these bottom-up processes that tries to recover heritage. For us, it's important because, as I said before, we want to work on the scale, local scale, with people in Córdoba, but also we want to think about how we can learn in the Córdoba lab to help other cities or to be helped by other good practices. So all this international award for us or network that we can establish are on both sides a way for us to learn about other experiences, and at the same time we really use this international recognition award to be able to to be influencer in the local scale, because many times people, and especially public administration, do not understand really what is gentrification, what is touristification, and how we have to care about the co-management of mechanisms that allow us to balance the touristical and the cultural value of our past for be able to be sustainable in the future.
Thank you. So I think now our audience know more about the project, the site, and I believe they can wait to pay a visit to PAX. So if you have any information we need to know before we go there?
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting for us this in the first step of our life, the first 3 years more or less, we could establish the network and we could realize the first renovation of the first courtyards that surely you can see in some videos that I will send you if you want to use it. It's the first cooperative of 6 families, and it's quite interesting because it's a very beautiful 18th century building, very historical in the case of Córdoba, that now has a new life with the PAX cooperative. Mm. And on the second hand, the next step will be working hard in the investigation with Horizon Europe project we belong to, about how heritage can be very useful to improve health and well-being in our citizenship. So for us, it's very interesting to study with from both quantitative or quality tool how we can live better in the courtyards and in such a 15-minute city. And third, we would like to be able to transform us in the next future in a startup of urban regeneration and social innovation. I don't know if we'll be able to do it, but maybe it could be a way to make a new upgrade in the next future. For sure, we are able to receive you, and we will be very happy if you want to take part in all the meeting that we organize, also with the Women Fund here in Cordoba.
That's great. That's really great. Thank you so much. It's really a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you, Gaia, and I hope you have a good one.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.